You look
Good.
significantly
Oh,
better than last week. Last week you looked dreadful. I was like,
oh,
I
last
don't
week I was like dead.
know.
Good morning and welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show, kicking off your morning with Wargaming Chat. Your hosts, as always, are myself, Honod. We have OT.
Hi.
And we have the Mayor.
Hello.
And today we are going to be chatting about two more Legendary Legions. We're going to be talking about Lurtz's Scouts and the breaking of the Bowship. Stay tuned. We'll be back after Hobby. Hobby, there's literally nothing to talk about. We've done nothing. Moving on. Well, do we want to mention that you've bought more
boroughs and badges? Well, I finished my warband and I've assembled them all now. So I might actually just put a picture in here if I can be bothered. But
there we go.
Who can say?
Mayor, have you done anything?
I played a game of boroughs and badges.
Oh, you did.
Wow!
I completely forgot about this.
This is how we get the momentum going. Actually doing stuff.
This is how we fill in the required 5 minutes for Hobby. Matt, tell us about your game and your first experiences with boroughs and badges.
Stuff died really fast was my experience of boroughs and badges. It was a good game between myself and my partner, which I eventually lost. I was using some elements of the warband that I'm planning to use, and she was using most of the elements from her warband. But essentially, she rolled really well on some magic items and got a sword that was like +3 to start with on strike, which for those who aren't in the know, you're rolling like a D8 or a D10 for your strike. So +3 is like really good. And then if you beat your opponent's block, which is usually lower than their strike value, which again is like a D6 or a D8 or something, then you do damage equal to the difference. So D8 +3, but then she also had Berserker Rage or something on it that as soon as they go Berserk, which they did almost immediately, they get -3 to their block, but +6 to their strike. So now she's like D10 +9, and they charged, which is another +2.
The modifiers, it turns out, get pretty wild, pretty quick.
And they had 2 people helping in combat, so that's another +2. Yeah, so it got really hard to keep track of stuff, and a couple of times we had to go backwards. We were like, oh, that fight we just did earlier, you should have had whatever bonus, we forgot. But it was fun. Every dice was really important. It was difficult to know when to use fate and not to use fates, because you want to keep some for after the game to make sure your guys don't just perma die. But yeah, no, it was good fun overall. I'd recommend. YouTube. I mean, it only took like an hour. You two could play yourselves if you wanted to see like vaguely what happened.
And I think that's one of the perks. Even though the modifiers, I think you do have to like do a bit of work to keep track of them. It is still a very quick game, so it's not like one of those ones where I don't know what. I guess 40k is kind of in that realm at the moment where it's like there's just so much going on.
2.5, 3 hours
work, and obviously it's a bit unfair to compare an army game to a skirmish game, but that I guess Kill Team is not for the same reasons, not for modifiers, but it's a skirmish game which takes quite a bit longer. So
I think
at least it's snappy.
Yeah, I think if Boroughs and Badgers had like 8 models per team, then it would probably be just as long as Kill Team.
I reckon it chunked down. Yeah. Okay, that will happen.
It will be really interesting, like because am I allowed to say this? Anyway, I can edit this out if I'm not allowed to say this. But for the campaign we're planning to do later on,
I think we've mentioned it before.
Yeah, but like it will be really interesting to see when we get some like high level characters with some high level gear. I think it's just going to turn into like an insta kill fest of just like it's just like everyone
one for one.
Yeah, and like I think because with the way some of them scale, like you can be very easy, like even in your game you got up to like +9 modifiers, and when you're rolling like D6s or D8s, like +9 is just because
even if
someone's
matter at that
yeah,
point.
even if someone's critting, it doesn't really matter. Like
you can make some quite tanky characters though if you really try.
Yeah. Especially when you're tanking to like, because there's a spell that gives like tough 5, and if you've got a character with like tough 3, suddenly you're like dropping 8 wounds.
Yeah, if you brought like an armadillo, who, for people who haven't listened to Bo's don't know both badges, we will at some point, probably quite soon, be doing like a quick intro video. But just for the sake of this little conversation, if you took an armadillo who's tough 3, you gave him the skill, which means he can take heavy armor and a shield, gave him very heavy armor to get +3, the heavy shield to get another +1, and also the additional roll to the block dice. You could be looking at some, and then make them your leader, give them an additional to block. Like you can make them quite tanky, but I think that there's more stuff for strike than there is tankiness. Well, so also it's almost like they get to a point where, did all of that investment in tankiness, like, is it not worth it because the guy hitting you will just do like 16 damage anyway? That's kind of where I'm at, looking at it, going like, is it better just to make a load of glass cannons? Into each other?
Also, if you can like do, I think what Mayor pointed out there is having like multiple models in the same combat is really powerful as well. So like if you can just have a loads of like disposable minions to charge in, take the hit, and then counter attack with your big dude, suddenly it becomes a lot more powerful.
But because I think for the campaign that we're going to do, which we will talk about more, I think I'm gonna have like a couple of like NPC kind of groups, just so that we aren't always fighting each other, because I think if it's just like a constant PvP, just become a kill fest. I think if you have like some NPC groups where it's like, we don't mind if they die horrifically, it'll be a bit more fun for like a campaign setting where our characters grow and we're like trying to tap the narrative. So we'll be coming onto that in probably a couple of weeks time. But good. We actually had something to talk about in the hobby section. Amazing.
Wow.
We'll move on then to our main topic conversation. So it's 2 more Legendary Legions for Middle Earth, and we're going to be looking at new book. Exciting. We're almost through all the Legendary Legions actually, because there aren't that.
We've still got Necromancer and
Necromancer only has 4. Necromancer only has 4.
Yeah, and then there's Defense of the North, which have like 5 or 6. Yeah,
but in terms of weeks, like we are probably going to be through Legendary Legions by kind of May time. So that
feels a long way away, I've got to be honest.
I feel like time passes so quickly these days that I'm just like, May, that'll come around. It's like
come what may.
Very good. Every time I look at like something a few months ago and I'm like, that's ages away, it's like the next day I wake up and it's like that day. It's like time clearly just. I like that fucking scene in that film I can't remember the name of, where he like bends that's my life. Lurtz Scouts. OT, you are running us through these 2 legions. Do you want to give us an overview of Lurtz Scouts? And I'll hold Mayor back physically, the rage that he will be shortly.
Didn't we say we were doing Breaking the Fellowship first, or have you taken your authoritarian role to a new level and just?
I don't remember us saying that because I wasn't paying attention. So we're doing.
Cut to him saying
it. Edit in me saying
it. Okay. So, this is nice, isn't it, for like a narrator talking? Anyway, so for Lurtz's Scouts, it has to have Lurtz in.
They're shit. Sorry, carry on.
Good.
It has to have Lurtz in, and he comes with a shield for what it's worth. Then there's Ugluk, who you can take, Maher, an Uruk-hai Scout Captain, who can take a Uruk-hai bow, a shield, or a 200 weapon. Then there's an Uruk-hai Drummer, and then the rest is just Uruk-hai Scouts. So, even more bland than Ugluk Scouts. The additional rules of where it gets exciting, in inverted commas, because
this Legion is a masterpiece. I don't know why you're memeing on it. Come on.
Okay. Relentless March. If your army contains Maher, then Uruk-hai scouts can be upgraded to Maher's Marauders. They move 2 inches further. I feel like you're nearly always going to put Maher in. The upgrade's free rather than costing 1 point a model, which is nice. So moving quickly. A worthy foe. This is fun. Lurtz may declare heroic challenge against any hero model regardless of heroic tier. Additionally, if he declares a heroic challenge and the other hero declines, then Lurtz regains the might points spent in declaring the heroic challenge. Nobody uses heroic challenge. You might use this, but yeah, there you go. And
you might use it in this case because you might get the might point back.
Yes,
it's like maybe the only time you use it with this Legion because you know that you get the might point back. But yeah, you probably still won't use it.
Because most heroes are probably going to be better than Lurtz anyway at fighting.
Yeah, that is the danger, isn't it?
So like they'll just be like, sure.
I haven't finished.
Sorry, carry on.
Shield throw. This is a cool rule.
Yeah,
once per game, he can choose to use his shield as a throwing weapon. It has a strength of 4, and it can hit any man-sized or smaller model by the shield, and they're automatically knocked prone. Once he's thrown his shield, he no longer has it. Kind of makes sense. Even though he no longer has the shield, the defense isn't reduced because I think he has a bow anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. I mean, who really cares? Like,
why did they make like? I get for theme reasons, but they went like, yeah, we're going to give this Legion 3 rules, and one of them going to be that he can throw his
shield once per game, and it hits on a 4+ if he hasn't moved.
You could argue that is such a shit rule that you could just put it onto his bloody profile and
no
one would care.
Yeah, but yeah.
I think a worthy foe is actually a debuff because you're encouraging Lurtz
to use heroic challenge.
Which is basically pointless unless Lurtz is surrounded and he's against like a shit enemy. In which case, why do you need to challenge them anyway if they're a shit enemy?
I think the only scenario I could see using it in is a high defense captain with a shield, who you think you might not instantly kill. But even then, like, it means they can't call what heroic move or something like. Oh.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ!
It's a very small buff if it's a buff. Relentless March is really nice.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah.
Everyone moving 8 inches is super good. It's a shame it's just Uruk-hai scouts.
The thing is with the 8-inch move is, and this is kind of the unavoidable thing with this Legendary Legion, that would be really cool if a better Legion didn't get it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, that's a useful rule, but I could take it with a Legendary Legion which does so much more, and it's the same buff.
We're talking about Ugluk Scouts.
So why would I take this Legendary Legion for the 8-inch move? Because you could just do with Ugluk Scouts, but
because it has Lurtz and he gets 2 really good rules from the Legion.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate here very, very weakly, just to try and... Yeah, no, okay, sorry. I mean, the only advantage this Legion has is it has Lurtz in, who I think's maybe better than Ugluk.
Lurtz is better than all the mid-tier captains, but he's not better than having Ugluk and then +1 to wound if you've got an Orc and Uruk in combat.
I agree.
He's not that good.
Shot me down instantly because I agreed with you anyway.
I think that they should have gone down the route of, in like the Blackgate Opens where you get like the mega troll.
Yes, they needed to buff Lurtz more.
You should get a mega Lurtz in this Legendary Legion.
Yeah.
Should be like the Lurtz Legendary Legion where he becomes fight 6 because he's going to duel with Aragorn. Like that, I would rather a fight 6 Lurtz than the shield rule. And all it's doing is giving a +1 to a stat, which is the most boring upgrade ever. And I would instantly be like, that's a better rule. And it's so boring.
Let's get the thing where he regains a might if he kills a hero. He should have
Blood and Glory.
He should have Blood and Glory.
Wow.
I'd take that over a worthy foe.
Yes,
to use
but
a
worthy foe's garbage. Like it makes
I'm suggesting a substitute. So
can I just say, by the way, that
no,
the heroic challenge is even worse than you think it is, because the actual rule for heroic challenge is a hero is in base contact with an enemy hero of the same heroic tier or higher.
Yeah,
or higher.
Yeah.
So he can't actually do it with a shitter hero.
No, but he can.
No,
he can on this one because of the
Oh,
other.
can he? Right.
That's why it's such a good rule.
So you can really
my bad. Sorry, no, I take it back. S tier, fucking great.
Yeah. So a buff Lurtz would be really nice.
Yes.
Just make him like 140 point hero equivalent. Where, well, yeah, give him like, I don't know, maybe once he throws his shield, he can use his sword as a two-handed weapon or something and get burly. I don't know.
A master forged Urukai dagger thing. Yeah.
The problem is, Lurtz's scouts. It's a bit weird because, I mean, the only time you see Lurtz is when it's Legion, so it's almost the Dunland problem where why is this? I mean, I guess it makes sense because you could take him as part of just an Isengard force, but yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. It's like if you're taking Lurtz, you're taking him for this theme, probably. I mean, I know that you could like make an Isengard army like crossbows for Lurtz anyway, but if you're wanting to make a thematic list, he's always going to be with the scouts anyway.
Yeah. Maybe something because he can decide where he comes on the board on Maelstrom. So
yeah,
I thought it would be really cool instead of his shield throw ability, maybe they can like voluntarily Maelstrom on boards where you don't usually Maelstrom.
Yeah, Lurtz's shield is free anyway, so all this Legion does is just take away options. It doesn't even give you something free.
It takes away options.
Are we into the section where we talk about what we'd do to change the Legion, or are we going
I think we've already started, hadn't we? Because we were talking about giving Lurtz plus one fight. Yeah, go on then. What's your master plan? I mean, it's so easy to improve. Like, just give it another rule that's not shit. Anyway,
what you do, just remove the Legion as the solution.
Delete it.
I would make his shield throw either auto hit or knock someone back. Because in the film, he throws his shield and it pins Aragorn to retreat. So I think it could even behave a bit like Sorcerer's Blast, where like it knocks a model back, and if they hit another model, they take another hit or something. That might be quite cool. Because currently it just feels really lame. Because also it doesn't hit occasionally. Like he's only a 3+. He is a 3+ shoot, to be fair, but like it's not an auto hit. So there's a chance you take this Legion, and one of the rules 1/3 of the time just doesn't go off, which feels a bit. And even when it does go off, it doesn't actually do anything. So
I'd almost rather give his bow like some kind of crippling ability.
Yeah.
Like maybe if he hits with his bow, he gets he makes them. What's the thing the specters have? Specters where they like paralyze you.
Paralyze them?
Oh right, yeah.
Quite strong.
Maybe his bow. Well, yeah, but come on, it's buff Lurtz, and then you're not he's got like another dimension to him then.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would say it's the Lurtz Legendary Legion. I think you keep the 8-inch Malheur, and then I think you've got to look at it as a kind of comparison with Ugluk. Ugluk's is all about creating good troops, so I think Lurtz should be about creating like the buff hero. Yeah. So I think it should be +1 fight on Lurtz, so he goes up to fight 6.
Yeah.
I think that he should actually get another fate, which I know is weird because he dies. But he like in that scene he takes like a beating and he's still going. So I actually think he should keep going. And then what I would do is get rid of the shield thing, and I would give him expert shot, 2 shots a turn. Because he's like pinging them into Boromir, isn't he? It should be like he gets like that cool. That's what I personally would do rather than the shield throw.
I gave him Oblivious to Pain, which I think is what the Berserkers have, where they ignore a wound on a 6.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I think that would, yeah.
Maybe
because
on a 5,
I agree. I mean, 5
5's maybe a bit good.
5's quite powerful.
Goblin King says otherwise.
Yeah, well, I mean,
3 is powerful.
Yeah, and the Goblin Killing's balanced by Anyway, we'll move on.
I mean, the goblins are fine; they're not like OP.
Yeah. What else did I suggest? Yeah, I think Lurtz should just be more powerful. I feel like it should be something to do with him fighting like more powerful heroes and like going up against them.
I think that's what they were going with
the challenge,
yeah.
but it doesn't
I
work.
wanted something to do with like heroic. So like if he's fighting someone in his heroic tier or above, he gets like reroll wounds or something. But I don't.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, the issue with heroic challenge is if you're going up against a better hero, you want to strike.
Strike.
Yeah, not challenge.
So it's like,
yeah,
if he could do a free heroic challenge in addition to strike, then that would be a fantastic rule. But it's not, because it's like you want to do another heroic.
I wonder if anyone's actually used heroic challenge.
I'm sure someone has, and I'm sure that it does occasionally have a good use. Like I think there are situations where challenge is useful because it gives you the might points back, but you've got to really have like a very specific situation where you know your opponent can't strike back, you're already a higher fight, you're pretty confident you're going to win and kill them, and therefore it's worth spending 1 might point to potentially get them all back. Which is like such a string of things. You're like, there's going to occasionally be a case where it's useful. Like, I could maybe, who would actually benefit from challenge in the game?
Having challenge?
Aragorn wouldn't, because he just gets a free might point anyway. Like maybe an elf hero benefits from it.
But then also they can just decline. Like they can just decline. If they decline, you've wasted your might point. Like
if they decline, they can't do heroic moves.
But then if it's on like a captain or something, like.
But if let's say I use my Goblin Town captain. Oh no, I can't because he didn't have challenge. Fuck. I was just trying to think of a way that you could use like a shit hero to prevent another hero doing something for the turn, basically.
But then also on the flip side, if they accept the challenge and kill you, like.
Yeah, because if you're a shit hero, they'll just be like, "Sure, I'll fight you." Die.
Let's rumble.
Let's rumble. Yeah, just like staring up at Day 9 for like, "Take me on, bitch," and he's like, "Okay." Smash.
I think it's just a thing that, like Arnold said, like the tick list of things you need for it to be useful and to like be worth risking one of your 3 might points normally that you have in the entire game.
It's really
stupid. It's stupid. Like,
because like the kind of hero that I could see you maybe wanting to do this on would be someone like Treebeard, because that would be really useful, and the Ents don't have a lot of access to might, and you would be taking something away from the enemy army if they don't accept it, because obviously the Ents would really benefit from the enemy not having a heroic move, but Treebeard doesn't have it. It's like they don't give it to heroes who actually really benefit from it. It's like the armies and heroes that actually you would be like, okay, that's kind of useful for Ents, taking away the ability for your opponent to heroic move because you want to be able to do that. And I could maybe see in a cavalry army in very niche situations again, taking away the ability to heroic move so you can get a charge off. Like maybe that would be useful with Riv Knights, because then you can guarantee the priority of Elrond. But again, you've got to be late enough in the game that the opponent is like in that situation but still has might points that they could use on heroic move, and you've got to want to use your might point on Elrond, so you've also got to accept that they might accept the challenge, so then you want to be able to kill them. So again, it's like there's just so many, like there are going to be situations where sometimes it might be useful, but they're not going to crop up very often.
No. What amazes me is that they did this book after they did
Scouts.
They were like, you know what would be really good? Basically exactly the same thing,
but
with Lurtz, and for some reason a lot shitter.
Yeah.
Come on, J. Claire.
Yeah.
Sort it out.
Yeah, that is the most bizarre thing, isn't it? Because a lot of the other Legendary Legions where we've compared them, we're comparing an early Legendary Legion who feels underpowered to a later one where we're like, they realised and buffed them.
Yeah.
But for this one, it's the opposite way around, and you're like, right, so they'd already created something which was, you know, it's not overpowered, it's decent. And then they went, no, let's make it like worth
Is Ugly Scouts? Where is it? Is it in top tier on our chart, or is it?
I think we put it in top tier. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to keep it in strong, but you two wanted it in fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it is fantastic.
It's bottom of fantastic.
Yeah. I think this might be the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, this one's going to be nowhere near it, and like it's really interesting how they're not actually that different on a lot of levels, but just like those little changes.
I think the problem is we're comparing it, like, and that is like a really good Legion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you didn't have Uglux and you were like, okay, the only legendary Legion that gives Urks access to the 8-inch move thing is this, it would look a lot better.
It would actually look a lot better, yeah.
It's like The Hobbit if the Lord of the Rings didn't exist.
No, that would still be bad.
But it would be less obviously bad.
True. You wouldn't make
less obvious.
You wouldn't make the comparison. Right. We've bashed Lurtz's enough for now. We'll return to bash in a moment. Let's though talk about Legendary Legion that we feel quite differently about, which is the Breaking of the Fellowship. And this OT is where you take us through the Breaking of the
Fellowship. So this is to represent the Fellowship. Actually, when they're fighting Lurtz's scouts, I guess would be of in the theme, I guess. So that's why we paired them together. See, there is a plan. It's not obvious, but there's
a logic.
So you can take the members of the Fellowship minus Gandalf, RIP. So Aragorn, Strider.
Wow.
Sorry, spoilers, Christ. sorry, I forgot. Right, you can take Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Boromir, who has the option for a shield. Frodo, who has to come with Mithril Coat and Sting, Sam, Merry, and but you have to take them in. You don't. Sam, Merry, and Pippin. Then for the extra stuff, Aragorn has to be your leader. I figure you're taking Aragorn most of the time anyway, so that's not really. And the leader thing's fairly subjective here anyway. Breaking the Fellowship, they have to be deployed as a single warband with Aragorn as the leader. And everyone gets the Elven Cloak for free, which is quite nice because it's post Lothlorien. Yeah, post Lothlorien. The reason you're taking this though, rather than the Legendary Legion that Onod is going to create, the Fellowship, the just Fellowship Legendary Legion, is the Gifts of Galadriel, which I think I think it's one of the coolest like sets of rules for any Legendary Legion.
It's definitely the most fluffy.
Yeah. So for Frodo, you get the Light of Erendil. Each turn, he can use a single free will point to do Blinding Light. It's on a 3+, can't be channeled, and he can't do it if he's wearing the ring, which I guess makes sense. So you lose Gandalf, but you can still Blinding Light, which is quite nice. Sam gets Elven Rope, which I think is a little bit meh, but like helps with maneuverability. Counters rolling 6.
I mean, that's going to come handy sometimes. He's going to be your objective runner.
Yeah. I mean, he's moving 4 inches, so more of a sort of slow jog than a run. But
you can use him up a tree, though.
It's true. Your hobbits often end up trees. Merry and Pippin, Daggers of the Noldorin. They can reroll failed to wound rolls, so that's sweet 1 attack at strength 2. You're allowed to reroll, which
such
is
a big
nice.
It makes them at least not shit though. Like you pair them with a bigger hero, so you win the fight, and then at least the attack might do something.
6s by 4s re-rolling.
Yeah.
Aragorn gets an Elven Dagger, which has Uruk-hai Bane. Anyway. It's fine. However, these are the ones that you're really in it for. Legolas gets Bow the Galadrim. Whilst within 3 inches of a friendly model, Legolas can re-roll any failed wound rolls to hit, which at 3 shots a turn on a 3+ if you don't move feels pretty good. Gimli gets Galadriel's Locks. He can re-roll all dice in the dual roll. He can use it 3 times per game. That's really good. Like I think
3 times per game. I like that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And then Boromir gets the Golden Belt, which makes him a woodland creature.
Classic.
Which is fine.
I think they slightly ran out of ideas. So, and then there's on top of that, there's a couple more rules. Friendly models always count as having the Fortify Spirit magical power cast on them. So,
which is really good.
That's really good. So,
remind us for listeners what that is.
I think it's you get two dice to resist or something.
It basically means you have free will points to resist magical powers. So like you don't have to, and because it's
you get +1 for every resist.
Yeah, but it's better than that because you don't actually have to spend your own will points.
No, so like it's basically or am I thinking of
magic? Fortify Spirit is the target rolls 2 extra dice for making resist tests. They don't have to spend a will point. They get 2 dice standard.
No. Yeah. So it's basically like twice as good as resistant to magic.
Yeah, because normally, of course, it's a spell you have to cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good. It's like the one that Glorfindel
has.
Yeah.
Like
and Elendil.
Yeah.
So even at this stage in reading the rules, they've got blinding light, so they're basically immune to shooting.
Yeah.
They've got this.
Well, so only if you roll a 5 up with.
Okay. Well, they've got this, so they're basically immune to magic.
Yeah.
So yeah, sounds good.
Sorry, 3 up with Frodo, but you have to roll it each turn because it's not channeled, so it's not like
and then we're still going. Bond of the Fellowship. Models from Legend Legion in a banner if they're within 3 inches of a friendly model. So again,
really
I think it's good early on, but I suspect later on when you're starting to get like spread out a bit more and stuff like that, it might get a little bit trickier. But yeah, I think definitely at the start of the game, like having Aragorn, Boromir, Gimli,
yeeting those 3 in together is going to be powerful at the beginning.
And Sam as well with his frying pan.
Of course.
Bonk. You have my sword. As long as Frodo's alive and on the table, all models get the Fearless special rule. They can't be broken while Frodo's alive and on the table.
Which is the rule.
Not even just for like courage reasons. Like they're just physically.
They're fearless. Fearless. They can't be considered broken while Frodo's alive and on the table.
Wow. So for like breaking,
put the ring on, hide up a tree.
Yeah,
win the game.
That is just straight up the Fellowship rule. Though remember the light break. So basically, you are losing the ability to take Gandalf, but you're gaining Fortify Spirit on everyone, and then all of the little special rules they will get.
And no Bill the Pony.
And no Gollum if you were going to take Frodo and Sam on their own, which I'm sure you were going to do. And
no Arwen.
And no horses for your Fellowship either.
Yes.
And I think this is actually the biggest weakness. No additional stuff for Aragorn.
No armor. No sword.
And I think actually that's the thing which holds this back, which is that as good as all of the little buffs are, Aragorn's is really disappointing. And he, as we know in his base form, isn't actually that killy.
No, strength 4.
Yeah.
Not amazing.
But I mean, you're getting free banners and stuff. Like it's all
you're going to win a lot of combats, but I think once Gimli and Boromir are taken out, then you become a bit of a kind of blunted weapon.
I mean, that's a pretty tall ask of most armies anyway.
I think
there's only going to be like D6, and he's got no fate. Like.
There is a reason, though, right, why this isn't competitive. Like,
you say that. 3 years ago, I took this to Ardacon, except I didn't take this. I took the normal army version because this book wasn't out yet. I won 2 games out of 6, which.
But did you have Gandalf?
No, I didn't have Gandalf.
You didn't have Gandalf, okay.
And I didn't have any horses because I didn't have the models. I took literally this list pretty much.
I mean, 2 out of 6 is.
One of them was against White Council when White Council didn't have a legion, so that was basically a free win.
It's okay. It's okay, I guess, without the buffs, but it's not a competitive legion. But we're not really looking at this from a purely competitive region. We've lost OT. We'll keep going.
it must be the best, if not one of the best, in terms of cost. I don't know what.
It's actually not.
Is it not? But you just get the box set, do you?
They don't produce these models with Elven Cloaks.
Oh God.
So you can just get the box set, in which case £32.50 golden, got everyone. However, if you want it to be WYSIWYG, actually it's going to be really expensive, because you are going to have to buy the 3 Hunters kit. You're going to have to buy Frodo and Sam in the Wheel. You're going to have to buy Boromir separate, who I think that would mean you'd have to buy him with his fully kitted out version in Minas Tirith. Because I think the only way you can get Boromir is in like a big multi-pack. Yeah, the only way you can get him is Boromir Captain the White Tower, who does come with a circular shield, but he's in heavy armor, so that's not even really WYSIWYG. So basically, it actually, if you want it to be completely WYSIWYG, is a massive ball ache, unless you get green stuff and just green stuff it on.
To be honest, because everyone's got an Elven Cloak from the Legion, like even if they didn't have it on the model, I would say it's assumed, it's okay.
I guess you could argue that, but I mean the hobbits are fine from the plastic kit because they wear cloaks anyway, so you just paint them a different color. But if you were technically looking for WYSIWYG, you are going to have to buy 3 Hunters and find a Boromir somewhere.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends, one, how much of a stickler you are, and two, are you going to be going to any tournaments which care that much about that sort of thing?
I think you'd be okay to just take the plastic one.
You probably would.
I don't think it's like. Also, I mean, this is super fluffy anyway. Like, I think if people were saying you can't bring that just because of the Elven Cloaks on a few of them, it feels a bit bad.
If you were going to do it WYSIWYG, though, you're looking at having to buy about 80 quid worth of stuff, probably. Yeah. You're getting 3 Hunters, plastic fellowship box, and then sourcing a Boromir from somewhere, or putting a cloak onto plastic Boromir. But even that's going to be cheaper than most.
Yes.
Armies, so
yes.
Yeah.
It's the one of the cheapest options.
Yeah.
Whichever way you do it.
Would we make any changes to it? I think yes. Even though I really like it, the only change I'd make is I just think Aragorn needs something. Personally, I would make Aragorn strength 5 with the dagger, just so that he actually can kill stuff a bit more consistently. I don't know if that's that strong, but then so many characters are actually strength 5. Like, is it really that big a deal if you make Aragorn strength 5 if he doesn't have? I mean, I guess if you had Andrew, you wouldn't need him to be strength 5, but you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have that. He's not on a horse, so I don't think it's actually that outrageously good if you make him strength 5 rather than making him what is it, hatred Uruk-hai or something?
Yeah, that's what it gets.
Pretty much use this rule.
They could have at least made it like, I don't know, hatred evil character or something.
So that was what my suggestion was going to be. Like, he just has. I put Orc and Spirit Bane on it as well, like just to try and cover as many evil factions as you can.
Something,
because otherwise he just isn't going to kill stuff, and you need your 3 combat heroes to be putting in a lot of work, especially early on. Otherwise, you are just going to be a bit screwed.
I guess it is technically Elven made as well, so you could argue that it's
an Elven made.
You could argue it's helping him win drawn fights a little bit more often.
Yeah.
So maybe it's
Anduril gives you that as well, doesn't it? Because it's an Elven made sword. So yeah.
But he doesn't have Anduril, does he?
Yeah, but as in, still the same idea with the Elven made weapon.
Yeah. So I don't know.
No. I'd also change something about Boromir as well. Like, that wooden creature just feels really weak. But I don't know how you link something to the belt. Like, it's a bit of a reach.
Could you give him some kind of like a almost a blessing rather than like a he becomes a woodland creature rule.
What would you give him though that's not already as good as counting as a banner?
So maybe if he can, a bit like Gimli's rule, if he could re-roll something once per game or something, maybe he can re-roll the one fate. Does he have any fate?
He doesn't have any fate.
0 fate.
Maybe give him one fate then.
It's kind of like his thing though that he has no fate but 6 might.
Yeah. He's a hand grenade.
I don't know. I feel like it could have some kind of blessing.
I agree. He needs something. I'm just not actually sure what that is.
Well, because the item he's given is a belt, and like I don't know how a belt aids you.
His trousers never fall down. That's the bonus.
Boromir is kind of balanced on such a like sword edge of if you make him too good, he's just gonna exploit his 6 might. So you need to kind of hold him back a little bit, especially if he's only going to be 100 points, which is very good value. Because like buff
Boromir, 6 might for 100 points.
But buff Boromir Ministerial gets the point tax added. So I don't know, but I agree. Boromir needs something a little bit more. Aragorn maybe needs something a little bit more, but I actually think other than that, rules wise, pretty good.
There's nothing that needs changing beyond that.
IT, do you want to take us through some lists and what the dollar/pound cost looks like?
Yeah, we'll start with Lurtz's. So at 400 points, you'd probably just bring Lurtz and Mahur and then full war bands of scouts. I think it's pretty straightforward.
You'd probably take as many bows as you could from there, I imagine.
Yeah, max out bows. That would cost you about 60-ish quid, 65-ish quid. It's quite efficient because you just
not too bad.
Yeah, it's actually one of the better leads. Both of these are really good.
I'd say at 400 points as well, Lurtz's scouts probably isn't actually that bad. It's probably fine. It's not going to be like exceptional. It's not going to be awful. I'd say at low points, it's probably around. It's probably not going to actually get outperformed by Uglux, but it's at higher points, obviously.
Yeah, because I mean, at 400 points, you could do Lurtz, Mahur, and 26 scouts. One of whom would have a banner and a few bows in there as well. Like actually,
and that's fine.
That's not bad. And they're moving 8 inches each as well.
I mean, if I came up against that with my 400 point list, I'm taking that doubles tournament. I don't know what to do.
We need to talk about your list at some point. I want to hear what's going on.
We will. We'll do a full
pre-tournament.
Pre-tournament, won't we?
We'll have to get my brother on.
Yeah,
our first guest.
It's true. At 650, you do Lurtz, Mahur, Ugluk, and an Uruk-hai Scout Captain, and then again just max out the warbands in much the same way. Yeah, you could do
11-inch move. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to put one in, you just have to probably drop the captain and just max out a few of the warbands. But yeah, that comes in at just over 100 quid, which is fine. They're actually, hang on, where does it rank overall? That's the scouts. It's the 6th cheapest, to be fair, out of the 20-something I've looked at. So it's pretty good.
Plastic Uruk-hai scouts are just value, aren't they?
The way to go. Well, plastic Uruk-hai in general, like when you're paying 10, 11 points for a plastic model, rather than 12 quid for a model with a plastic horse.
I knew that was going to come up.
Shoehorned it in. Oh,
400 points. I don't really. Fellowship list. I don't really know. You have to take Aragorn. I put in Legolas, Gimli, and then Sam, just because Sam filled up the rest of the points quite nicely. The
other option is Boromir rather than Gimli, maybe.
Yeah. I just think Gimli's a bit more consistent, and I think the locks are really powerful.
And having him and Legolas is quite important for their rule.
For their synergy.
They might have 400 points though.
Yeah. But then Aragorn is basically an infinite source of point if you use him correctly.
Forgot about that one. Even though he uses Aragorn like every game.
Unless I'm playing Treewood. One of the.
Unfortunately, this list caps out at 600 points. It can't go any higher. So
600.
That's all you.
Because you get 3 elves and cloaks. So
yeah.
And you can't take any horses or anything. So there's just no way of adding points to it.
Yeah.
I wonder if some crazy persons that were taking this for more than just gone, yeah, fuck it, I'll just be really avoided.
Yeah. Yeah, and it costs. I mean, there's two ways of doing it. If you buy the plastic fellowship thing, it's 32, 33 quid. If you want to do it WYSIWYG, it comes in at just over 75, which is fine. I personally would just get the plastic fellowship box. I think it makes your life way more straightforward, and that makes it by far the cheapest Legion.
They do every now and again do a made to order of the regular ones, and last time it came in at just under 50. So
it'd still be the cheapest by a long way.
It would still be good value, and a lot of people prefer the sculpt. I think the sculpts, the metal ones, are overall better, but they're not as.
You don't have that awful Aragorn one where it's like.
I wonder.
Thanks for that visual representation.
I wonder why they haven't remade that fellowship box, because you would have thought with them being so iconic that would, and then because like their modern sculpting so good, they could just have like optional cloaks and all.
I mean, maybe it's just because it sells well anyway. Like the sculpting.
Yeah, maybe.
Like for 32 quid, for 32 quid, you're getting like with the Gandalf one, you're getting a like 700 and something point list. Like,
and bearing in mind that 12 years ago they were selling that packaged with a plastic cave troll, 24 goblins, Balin's Tomb scenario, and a rule book for 50 quid.
Yeah,
I mean, they're kind of making dollar on that, aren't they? Yeah. But
it's the way forward, isn't it?
Just outrageous prices
for stuff you made like a decade and a half ago.
It literally must cost them like pennies, because all they have to do is just pour some plastic into what I imagine is an immensely abused mold that's been beaten for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
And then just fucking whack it in a box.
Sell it to some schmucks.
Exactly. Good. Right, shall we rank them? We'll quickly run over the tiers, and I actually have them in front of me this week, so I know what their proper names are. We have at the top Fantastic, which is Legendary Legions that we think tick all the boxes. Fun to play, fluffy, reasonable to collect. We've then got Solid, which is kind of all those Legendary Legions who aren't quite all of those things, but are most of them, which we think are overall good Legendary Legions. We've then got Average, which are, there's some reason you might collect them over the base army, but overall they're kind of fundamentally flawed. And then we've got Whiff, which is kind of there's no real point in taking these. You might as well just take the regular army because they don't really offer you anything. So, Lurtz's Scout. Matt, do you want to kick us off? Because you are maybe.
I actually kind of want to go last because I'll tell you why. It's because my heart says they need to go in Whiff, but my brain says they're really not that bad and they should probably be an average. But I want to see what you two do so that I can see if my Whiff actually makes a difference.
I think exactly the same. I think you want to put them in Whiff because you want the meme on the list that it's shit, it's really bad. What were they thinking? Why would you give him heroic challenge and being able to throw a shield is the only unique rules? But then actually, if you didn't have Ugluk Scouts, you wouldn't say this is Whiff. And I think that you've got to be fair. It's reasonable to collect. There is some reason actually to take this over doing it in the regular list because you do get the free movement.
If you're theming it, you do get stuff.
Yeah, if you're going for that theme, there is reason. Actually, hero-wise, you do get Ugluk. If you weren't in a Uruk-hai list going to take Saruman, there aren't that many heroes. Like, I guess you'd argue like Vrasku, but there aren't that, and the Dunlending ones. But only if you were going to like mix up with the Dunlendings. So if you were going to take Uruk-hai and you weren't going to take Saruman, you might argue that actually you're not really gaining that much. So I think it has to go in average, but I'm not happy about it. So bottom.
I was going to say the same. If it's going to be an average, I want it to be at the bottom. I think it is below the Wargs.
Sharky.
Wargs.
Sharky boy. Hammerhead Shark.
What do you think?
I think it's Whiff.
Oh, interesting.
Go on,
despite those fair reasons given.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I say whiff, it's got to go in whiff as well then.
I think it's such a miss just on the basis of how badly Lurtz is realised. I think you can put it in whiff. I think
does it deserve to go in whiff?
The legions can be certain things, and this could have been really cool, and it isn't. Like, there are some legions that I think are limited by what they have to contain, but like, I don't know. There were so many opportunities for Lurtz to be this like absolute beast, like he is in the scenes in the films. Like, I'd argue he's the
main bad guy in Fellowship.
I was about to say, is he the most badass like made up character?
Barryman is the main bad guy in Fellowship.
Okay, but like of the characters they made up, is he the most badass made up character in the films?
He's got to be up there.
Of the ones that are purely made up, not in the books. Probably.
I'd say if you're using the word badass, he probably is.
Yeah,
there aren't that many other completely made up ones though.
Like, he literally goes toe to toe with Aragorn, like, and
he comes closest to killing him.
And like,
I'm never happy about that though.
Yeah, but he does. Okay, he does. Like, the films exist; they're really good. Move on. So like, if
he's not satisfied with shitting on the Hobbit, he has to shit on the Fellowship.
Fellowship's my favourite film of the three. So
it really, I like Fellowship as well. Fellowship's my favourite. Anyway, if Lurtz and Aragorn came against each other in a game, like, you'd run away with Lurtz. Like, he unfortunately, I don't think he'd really stand a chance. Like, he's lower fight.
And that's with the alleged buffs he got from this edition of the rules.
And he's not. If he challenges Aragorn, Aragorn's be like, sure.
That's why you call it a heroic challenge. It's one way to be Aragorn.
God, you're making me want to put him in whiff as well now.
I think it's either right at the top of whiff or right at the bottom of average. And, but it is cheap. It is cheap. It is vaguely themey.
It's very collectible. Yeah. There is a reason to do it over the regular army.
Yeah,
you do lose the army bonus, which is really good for Isengard.
Yeah, that's true. But the free movement.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Like all of the bow shenanigans. So
we make a new category called Lurtz Scouts.
Or just in between whiff and
and the only one in there
because we said this previously with those like 4 Rohan legions, we couldn't decide if they were average or solid. Like, no,
I don't think there are many more legions that will end up in whiff, and I have a feeling
many more legions left.
No, well, this is true.
I said that earlier, and I got fucking critiqued. What is this bullshit?
No, you didn't.
What?
What are you talking about?
Gaslighting.
Who's editing this one?
You forgot that I edit the audio.
But I get the final say with the visuals.
The Spotify listeners. The Spotify listeners will know the truth.
There's no Spotify listeners. The stats back it
up. You dedicated Spotify listeners who are my favourites by the sound of it.
Shout out.
I can't believe that last episode you put a visual of my face over Gothmog. When
I know.
Said, ugly fucker.
He did you dirty there, didn't he? He fucking did you dirty.
That was so bad.
He did you dirty. He did you dirty first of all in recording for saying it, and then he did you dirty when he edited the video. Filth. I think we should boycott OT for this. We're putting this legion in. We're putting this legion average and ignoring OT's opinion.
As much as I hate to say it, I think it is. I think it's in the end bottom of average.
Yeah. Bottom of average.
That's all right.
It seems fair.
Yeah, I have to say though, from the original like SPG rules where Lurtz was basically every other hero, every other captain hero, I'm very happy with the buffs he got.
Yeah,
I'm annoyed at the debuffs to like the Berserkers and the Feral, but that's just because I love them and they're OP. But like Lurtz feels more like Lurtz, and yeah, this Legion really could have made him.
They massively improved in the base rules, but it like. Missed opportunity of the Legion. Breaking of the Fellowship then. OT, you can kick us off with this one.
I don't know. It's cool. Like I think I would argue it's the most fluffy Legion that exists. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean you can't really go wrong with it because it's literally like pretty much defined, other than having to make up all the rules, which are all pretty solid. Yeah.
But like even the individual, the gifts are good. But like the stuff on the right hand side of the page, like the Fortify Spirit stuff, the banner stuff, the Frodo thing, like
Yeah.
It just all seems to tie together really well, and I think this would play in a really themey way, where you'd stick together, like models would gradually fall until you probably were just left with Frodo hiding up a tree. Like, I think it would actually.
What happens in the film.
Yeah. Don't you remember that bit where
I do? When Frodo goes, it's Frodo time. Just Frodo's everywhere.
I would like to put it in fantastic.
Okay, Mayor.
I was toying with the idea of fantastic, but I think I'm going to put my vote into solid, and the reason is, I think because it's limited to up to 600 points, and because despite the buffs, it's not the most competitive in terms of like doing well. I think it does a really good job of making it like each thing individually isn't game breaking, but when you add up all the extra rules they get on top of all the rules they already have, like you can see them doing really well against certain armies or in certain scenarios. I think it's probably at the top of solid for me.
Oh no, I've got to make the tiebreaker.
I wouldn't be surprised if you said fantastic. I think it could well be. I mean, it's so cheap. Like you can build it however you want.
I'm really torn because in many ways this is kind of like one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Maybe not my favorite, but I really like it. But for some reason, I don't know if it is fantastic.
I think you could legitimately make an argument for this being the best Legion that exists. Like, I think if you really like sat down and compared them to the other Legions, I'm not saying you would necessarily end up there, but like, I think for the number of rules you have and how themey and how well it all links together, I think you could.
I mean,
it's very unique.
By the basis of our own criteria, there is a reason to take this over Standard Fellowship because you get all of the little buffs.
Yeah,
there is still a reason to take regular Fellowship to get Gandalf, which I think for me in this case is actually like a successful.
Yeah,
because both are valid, and this creates a nice scene where Gandalf isn't there, so it does its job really well. I do kind of agree with Mayor though. It is frustrating that it gets capped, but then I don't know how you'd fix it.
Yeah, you can't really not cap it, and it's very obvious that the cloaks are free to make it 600 points as well.
Yeah, and ultimately it's kind of like you're always going to take Fellowship at that kind of mid points range anyway, because they just aren't suited to high points range.
I mean, should we actually think about like how could you add points to this Legion? Like, you could give them the option for armor maybe, but like that would only add
not fluffy.
Then arguably it's not fluffy.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way you can make them more points is by improving them and then charging you for the Elven Cloaks.
Yeah, I was going to say if
even then you're only getting to 700 points, so.
You could buy might points or will points or whatever, but even like then you could probably do some pretty weird, finicky, maybe even OP stuff.
I guess
fake points. What did you call them? What was the points you came up with for the army?
Oh, don't ask me a question. Was it Valor maybe?
Yeah.
You know, I think actually, in hindsight, like if there was ever going to be a Legion, like this is so fluffy. And it does. Maybe it doesn't need to be anything else. Maybe we're asking too much. To make this competitive. I'm not sure. The model count, like it's not like you can give them a troop option. I think the thing is worthy of fantastic.
The thing is with the Legion, and I know how we were just kind of saying that you couldn't compare. You shouldn't really maybe compare Lurtz to Ugly. Maybe that's a little bit unfair. I feel like a Legion that we're going to be discussing in a future pod, which is all hero, but does scale really well, kind of makes me think that actually...
What's that?
Black Riders.
Oh, right, yeah, true.
Because Black Riders scales, like no matter the points, it scales.
I lost to it at Ardacon, didn't I?
It's all hero, it's fluffy, it's good, not that cheap. It really should be. They should make a generic plastic Nazgul.
Yeah,
that it would sell. I think it has to be fantastic, but I think actually where it goes in Fantastic. I would put it above Ugluk, but I wouldn't put it above Ghosty Boys or Attack on Helm's Deep.
I would say Ugluk scales a lot better than this, though.
But I don't think it's quite as fluffy or fun.
Yeah.
But also, like this list, I don't think should scale. I don't think it can.
Yeah.
But the reason why I would say Ugluk's is perhaps better is because it gives you like a better longer term thing. I think because
as a project, Fellowship is a little bit boring because it's like you paint the 9 and then it's done. But that's not necessarily bad because it's also nice.
You'd have to do troops and loads of orcs and
that for some people.
But how many Urukai scouts would you have to churn out?
Yeah. For some people, I think they like that idea of army building, though. I think the nice thing about Fellowship is that it's like everyone's backup army. Like, there's no reason why you don't own Fellowship if you play this game, unless you're A2. But that's only.
I actually have the Fellowship.
You actually now have them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've got 3 hunters, so I'll have the mounted ones as well soon.
We have the Hobbits.
Yeah, I've got the Hobbits.
When did you get the Hobbits?
I got eBay about 6 years ago. I've never used them. I've never used them because I used to be a power gamer, whereas now I do it for the joy.
Well, in which case, literally every person owns Fellowship there.
Every single person.
Every person in the world. So many of that plastic box there playing around.
Yeah.
It's also probably like one of the most like beloved potentially.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play a Legion where you're like, I love the characters, I love the story, I love Lord of the Rings in general, like I think this really does it justice.
Okay, where do we put it in Fantastic then? Does it go above Ugluk?
Yes.
OT?
Yes.
That was OT.
Sorry, Mayor.
That's my best Mayor impression.
I honestly don't know. I think it can go above Ugluk's.
I think above Ugluk's, but I don't think above Ghosty Boys.
I think Ghosty Boys is the best Legion, I think, in the game. Like just in terms of.
We do have it ranked second though.
But I mean, you put Helm's Deep above it, presumably. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's as good as you two did, but anyway, that's just my opinion.
Okay, we'll slide on third then, and I think that's fair. Fair. Good. Okay then, should we quickly have a little chat about news? It's a little bit to talk about actually.
Wow.
GW have shown off.
I think people got that.
It's just clarifying. They've shown off their fancy new Osgiliath terrain because it turns out that the terrain that they include in the starter box is only 1 kit, and they've made 3, which is cool. Why not? So you can get a complete house which has an inside.
It's called a mansion.
Kind of like S tier design. I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know if I'll buy it, but
it depends on prices, doesn't it?
Depends on price. It looks really cool, and I'm really excited to see what people do with it. That looks like a great. I actually think that's a better kit than the ruins. The ruins are cool, and ruins are always useful because they just work like all the time, and
they translate well to other game systems.
Yeah, and they're also like straightforward rules wise, and they're also quite easy to move your miniatures around in, which sometimes things with interiors are a little bit fiddly with that. And then there's like a random tower, which I don't know. Like, presumably you could stick someone on top of it, and then that would be a bit. How does that work?
A bit like in Saving Private Ryan.
Like, is a Fellowship list now just going to shove Frodo up there and put the ring on?
Can you imagine Legolas up that tower?
Can you throw Frodo off something if you're the evil player controlling him?
I don't. You'd have to look at the rules for One Ring. I don't. No, as in like, could he jump, causing himself injury? I don't actually know.
Voluntarily or
no? Because if the other player's controlling him,
if he puts the ring on,
I think the ring says that you can't like force him to cause harm.
In which case, perfect. You put Frodo up there. He can never be touched, and your army can't break. Perfect. Chef's kiss.
Fellowship new meta.
So basically, don't put the tower in a deployment zone, I think is
Presumably there'll be mechanics for him climbing up a ladder or something inside, like I assume.
Yeah, I assume they'll have to, because they've got little hatches if you look at the images.
Yeah.
And also, like, why bother making it so that someone can stand at the top if
they can't be shot off or
get up there?
Or somebody can climb up and kill them. Yeah.
It's fun though. I don't think the tower's as useful in terms of like a gaming piece. It's
cool.
It's cool though, yeah.
It could be like budget or tank if you really needed it to be.
True. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. I guess maybe it'd be cool if you like used it as like a big objective in the middle of a game.
Well, I wonder if like people who do these big terrain projects on YouTube are going to start integrating them in, because actually they would fit in on a grander scale for sure.
This going straight into that Zorp.
Yeah. Also, that's been going on for like 3 years. It's ridiculous. It's an epic project now. But yeah, because you could definitely do like walls linking to these towers or something if you wanted to recreate like some of the Return of the King scenarios.
Yeah, really cool. And I think that Middle Earth might now have the best terrain of any GW game. Weirdly, which is kind of crazy, but. You can now.
The mansion by itself is so cool.
The mansion's pretty good, but if you think about scenery now for Middle Earth, you can now make a really good Osgiliath. You can do a really good kind of ruins in Ithilien / ruins in Arnor. You can do a really good Lake Town. You can do
Rohan got so much.
You can do really good Rohan. You can do the Dol Guldur ruins. You can't really do Mines of Moria unless you do like a really small one for the scenario. But now you like it really good, and then you compare it to like 40k, where I guess you've got like the new kill team stuff, which is really cool. But actually, the terrain for 40k, they phase quite a lot of it out now. So a lot of the terrain's quite boring. It's like really flat square buildings that basically look like you've turned a cardboard box upside down, but it costs £30. And some kind of average ruins and like scattered terrain. I don't know. I just feel like actually Middle Earth now might just have better stuff. Yeah. Good job, Games Workshop. Please don't overprice it. Which they will. Although actually, again, the Middle Earth is probably the best price.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. We I don't think we whinge that much, but like, I think we're doing all right at the moment.
Because actually, the Lake Town House multi-pack, which gives you 3 houses and all the walkways, is £70 retail price, but you can get that discounted at somewhere like Wayland, #not sponsored. Yeah. So that then drops down to how much is it?
60-ish something. Just under 60. No, just over 60. Sorry, 63 or something.
Yeah. So that would probably fill a board potentially. Yeah. Pretty good. Good job.
All right.
Yeah. And then other
we got the battle host boxes. Sorry, in the value stuff as well. Like we didn't even talk about those. They're the ones that sold out on Wayland in about 15 minutes when they took 20% off them.
Basically, Middle Earth is by far the best value game.
The best game, objectively.
And also a good game. So.
I think it might be certainly for us, it's the best war game. But like generally, it's got to be up there in terms of balance and model range. And
I think it's the best game that GW currently make.
Yeah.
Maybe with the exception, but I don't think they exist in the same sphere as Blood Bowl, because I think Blood Bowl's a really good set of rules, but it's such a completely different game to Middle Earth. I don't think it's worth comparing them. Yeah. But I think Middle Earth is the best game GW currently make, and it's probably the best value, and it's probably the easiest to get into, the most solid set of rules, and the actual background and lore is better.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
So there, 40k fans get mad.
Yeah. Hashtag come at me. Don't actually though.
No. What are we doing next week?
Oh, we haven't finished news yet because I wanted to drop in about the 40k boarding actions just so that we can spark that.
That was a curveball. Where did that come from? You've never shown any interest in it before.
Rage-inducing argument we had about 500-point games versus Kill Team.
Yeah.
I watch Tabletop Tactics, which I occasionally watch, but not very often because I can't stand the situation 40k's at the moment. But I watch their boarding action games. That look really fun.
Sorry, is that the news?
Oh, I was just saying.
The news is you watched a video and you thought.
I was just saying it got released.
How narcissistic are you?
Well, the news is that it released this week. We didn't mention it last week, but it released this week. You can pre-order it, and it actually doesn't look trash. I'm not going to start 40k again. Like the issue is, and this is the thing, because it's highly likely that 10th edition is coming out this year, which would invalidate
10th edition. 10th edition.
Which would invalidate, bearing in mind that when we started 40k was on 5th edition, but that would invalidate probably these rules. So by the time you've built an army and built the terrain, you probably
need to change it.
Run out of time to play this unless you're happy playing rules which aren't up to date, which you definitely can, but unless they specify that it's okay into 10th. But looking briefly at the rules, I don't really see how it will work once the edition changes, because there's so many things that they've done. But I like the idea of little 40k and them going, let's get rid of all the shit that we've created. Like, they've got rid of stratagems in this game mode, they've got rid of the warlord traits, and they've got rid of the relics. It's just like, it's back to what 40k was, where it was just you had the models and they just did what they said they did, and you don't have to remember the trillion other pieces of bullshit. So well done for
God, we're really sucking up to GW this week, aren't we? We've
returning back to what you used to do with 40k, even though that wasn't that good either, but it's slightly better. But I'm not buying it because it's ludicrously expensive. Let's compare.
Completely inconsequential anyway.
Yeah. Let's just quickly compare terrain. You know how we were just talking about how great Middle-earth terrain is and how fantastic value it is. Go and look up the boarding actions terrain sets, which is twice the price of the Lake Town houses set, in which you get 3 Lake Town houses and walkways. And for twice that value, you get some walls, which are really nice walls. Don't get me wrong; they're very nice.
Are these the space walls I ranted about a while ago?
They're the space walls, but I don't know if I was a 40k player that I would be happy dropping 130k on some walls. Mayor, what do you think?
130k?
130 quid.
Quite a lot of walls.
There's a lot of walls.
Would for a whole table? So
would you want to spend 130 quid on it though? This isn't a full table, by the way. This is half the size of an actual 40k table because it's only a 500-point game.
But it's all you need, right?
It's all you need for the 500-point games. If you want to play 2k though, you may have to buy 2 of these, arguably. Although I guess you could just spread the walls out more and have less of it.
Also, you'd have to paint all of those walls.
I guess
that would be
you could spray paint it, right?
What, just grey?
Just spray paint it silver and then throw like a bottle of Nuln Oil at each one. you would probably actually you probably actually would get through a couple of bottles of Nuln Oil paint, that wouldn't you? There's quite a lot of wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you want to invest heavily into walls, boarding action.
We've got a product for you.
There you go. But it did look quite fun on the battle report. So there you go. Right. Next week we are going to be starting off our Boroughs and Badgers series. Is series the right words?
Campaign.
I feel like series is bigging it up. Campaign might be better. We're going to be running through our list. We're going to be discussing Burrows and Badgers a bit. Obviously, quite a few of our listeners are Middle Earth orientated, so we'll be going kind of through what Burrows and Badgers is. Please still listen. It won't be shit. It's fun.
Sorry, it won't be shit.
Yeah, that's the prize.
It's a pretty high promise.
Hit that bell.
What are we going to do if it gets like 20 views?
Ding that bell. I mean, we'll keep doing it because it's what we want to do, right? But
yeah,
it would be nice if people watched it, I guess.
Yeah.
Subscribe, like,
stick with us as we fumble through the world.
OT is doing a Lord of the Rings inspired warband. Oh,
I am because I have zero creativity, so I just stuck with what I know.
I mean, mine's fairly derogatory too, so you know.
I don't know, yours is all right. Yours
it's just Peaky Blinders.
Yours have got funny names. People will very quickly work out the naming scheme for mine, which was about as creative as it gets.
So that's what we'll be having a look at, and then in kind of, I think, once a month we're going to be going over some games and doing a little campaign that we keep track of on the pods. So that'll be what we're doing next week. So it is goodbye from OT.
Bye.
Yeah, please make the silences as long as possible so it's even more awkward. It's goodbye from there.
Goodbye, everyone.
And it's goodbye from me. Have a lovely week / shit week, if that's the thing that we do. Like and subscribe.
Remember to like and subscribe.
Ding that bell.
Stick with us.